love your whatnot, your money slot, your secret little honeypot. Love your Mary Lou, your vajuju, your little man in a canoe.
So it just starts, I am over rape. I am over rape happening in broad daylight. I am over rape culture, rape mentality. I am over rape pages on Facebook. I am over thousands of people who sign those pages with their real names without shame. I am over people demanding their right to rape pages and calling it freedom of speech or justifying it as a joke. I am over being told I don't have a sense of humor and women don't have a sense of humor, when most women I know are really fucking funny. We just don't think that uninvited penises up our anus or our vagina is a laugh riot. I am over women still being silent about rape because they are made to believe it's their fault. I am over violence against women not being an international priority, when 1 out of 3 women will be raped or beaten in their lifetime. The destruction of and muting and undermining of women is destruction of life itself. I am over endless resurrection of careers of rapists, sexual exploiters, film directors, world leaders, corporate executives, movie stars, athletes, while the lives of those they violated are permanently destroyed, often forcing women to live in social and emotional exile. I am over the passivity of good men. Where the hell are you? You live with us, make love with us, father us, befriend us, brother us, get nurtured and mothered and eternally supported by us. So why aren't you standing with us? Why aren't you driven to madness and action by the rape and humiliation of us? I'm over being played about rape. It's been too long now. We have been too understanding. We need people to truly try and imagine once and for all what it feels like to have your body invaded and mind splintered, your soul shattered, because we are over it. I really just enjoyed that one. I thought it summed up the whole idea on rape culture and how the world and the United States specifically have handled rape, and just how it's kind of a taboo where women are made to feel bad about coming out about it, and men are typically not incarcerated over it. And I just think it's very interesting how women typically their lives are ruined and dramatically affected, and men's lives go unchanged from it. And I just think it really sums up kind of the anger behind it of we're not concerned anymore, we're not passive. It's to the point where women are angry and rape victims are angry. And I just really resonated with that in that chapter.
It really didn't. So the whole documentary was about how misogynist the whole gaming community is, and how it's like how rape culture is kind of revered there. So like one of the girls recorded all of her online game sessions. Mm-hmm. And guys said the craziest stuff. One of them I think was, I'm going to rape you and impregnate you with triplets and then make you have a late term abortion, which is like, but you know, he said that in a room full of, you know, like an online room full of right. guys, and like everybody laughed, and mm-hmm. you know, that was just one of you know, hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of messages that this girl and every other girl who's like at all active in the gaming community gets. And so the documentary talked about how, you know, women are portrayed in video games and that kind of stuff. And I just, you know, I've been running like in the PSU circles for so long, which I think is a little bit more like progressive than a lot of other places might be. And so it was really eye-opening to me to kind of be reminded of how, you know, we're kind of in this little bubble, I feel like, and feel really safe. And I'm about to, I'm going to graduate at the end of this term. And I'm like, oh God, there's so much going on out there that I'm not like thinking about. But rape culture, you know, is definitely, it's more prevalent than I guess realized.
Something that I focus on a lot in my like research and other classes is how it's the kind of behaviors tried to be justified through like biological means. Since I am a biology major, that's like one of my kind of things that I take to. And I think that, you know, trying to use the Y chromosome and trying to use like testosterone to justify these behaviors is just is in turn also normalizing it. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's tried to be played off as a joke or like shock humor or whatever. And some people laugh because they're uncomfortable, but that's like the thing is, if you're uncomfortable, you should say something and stand up for, you know, your like the women that are around you, and even like anyone who's getting disrespected in that kind of way.
Your naughty bits, your peachy lips, that little thing between your hips.
If your vagina got dressed, what would it wear? And the answer was red high tops and a Mets cap worn backwards. If it could speak, what would it say? The answer is it would say words that begin with V and T. Turtle and violin are examples. What does your vagina remind you of? The answer is a pretty dark peach, or a diamond I found from a treasure and it's mine. What's special about your vagina? The answer was somewhere deep inside it, I know it has a really, really smart brain. What does your vagina smell like? The answer was snowflakes. Was a little girl's book that is also a Christian book called The Princess and the Kiss. And it is like, it's illustrated the way it sounds. It's very like old school, beautiful young princess and all of that kind of stuff. And like the premise is that for this little princess's birthday, her parents give her a gift from God, which is her first kiss. And, they're like, you got to, find the right person for your first kiss. So she goes on this adventure and, tries to meet the right guy to kiss. And she finally does at the end. But it's all about, it's really about purity and that kind of stuff. And I found it on Amazon, and it is like, it's a really popular book. Like, it was on their bestseller list. And anyway, I read some reviews on it and got really good reviews. And I was just thinking about like how different those two experiences would be. Like, I think about the little girl who's given that book when she's 6, which the way it was written is kind of, sort of age appropriate for a 6-year-old, I guess. But it's all about like your whole mission in life is to find the right guy to kiss, and you better not mess it up. And your first gift was, a gift from a benevolent male God anyway. Like, what is that girl's message growing up versus some girl who gets asked about all of these, these questions about her own vagina, and it's very like, it has nothing to do with men. And anyway, I just sort of imagine in my head what those two women would grow up around and thinking and feeling about themselves. And I just can't help but think, obviously the girl in the Vagina Monologues is going to be a lot more comfortable with herself than maybe the other girl would be. So that I thought was just kind of interesting.
Your naughty bits, your peachy lips, that little thing between your hips.
But it was, I was 12 and my mother slapped me. And it was like talking about when girls first got their periods. And I'll read like a few sentences. So 2nd grade, 7 years old. My brother was talking about periods. I didn't like the way he was laughing. I went to my mother. What's a period? I said. It's punctuation, she said. You put it at the end of a sentence. My father bought me a card to my little girl who isn't so little anymore. I was terrified. My mother showed me the thick sanitary napkins. I was to bring the used ones to the can under the sink. I was 10 and a half, no preparation, brown gunk on my underpants. She showed me how to put in a tampon, only got in halfway. I associated my period with I can't pronounce that word, sorry, phenomena. My mother told me I had to use a rag. My mother said no to tampons. You couldn't put anything in your sugar dish. More wads of cotton, told my mother. She gave me Elizabeth Taylor paper dolls. And then 9 and a half, I was sure I was bleeding to death, rolled up my underwear and threw them in the corner. Didn't want to worry my parents. And then I was 12, my mother slapped me and brought me a red cotton shirt. My father went out for a bottle of sangria. So this kind of reminded me of how growing up in my household, periods were like a taboo thing. Like, women were not supposed to talk about their periods. It was kind of like it was shown as like a gross, unnatural thing when it's not that at all. It's like a natural thing that every biological female goes through. And it kind of just showed me like how it reminded me of how scared I was when I first got my period, and how like I didn't understand it because I was raised in a house that was very like ignorant to talking about sex, your body, anything like that. In my culture, I'm Mexican, so in Mexican culture, they like to keep women like that, ignorant about their bodies, and they don't like. My mom, she always told me don't use tampons. You know, you had to use like pads all the time because you know tampons are bad. They like take away your your purity and stuff like that. So that chapter kind of just reminded me of how I was raised and how it. I kind of feel sad towards like the little girls that have to go through that environment too, because I wish I was, you know, lucky enough to be able to grow up in like a household that didn't see periods or menstruation in that way. So I was never like ashamed to buy tampons, you know, growing up and like checking out and, you know, always having to go to like self checkout and stuff like that. So yeah, that was like my whole thought on like that chapter and why I chose it.
I'm glad you brought it up. That's actually one of the chapters I wanted to talk about, because I think it is like so taboo. I think it's one of the more significant like events in a female's life. But I particularly wanted to read how the author introduced the chapter. She goes, I interviewed many women about menstruation. There was a choral thing that began to occur, a kind of wild collective song. Women echoed each other. I let the voices bleed into one another. I got lost in the bleeding. I just really like that passage because it's like, even though these women have never met, they've never like had any conversations with each other, like it's such a universal kind of experience. Like there are differences in the way that people get either taught or don't, or like not educated on it, because I personally wasn't really ready. I wasn't really educated on, you know, and like what periods were. But I think it's just so interesting how they kind of just like blended together, and that there was a lot of similarities, but also like there were a lot of differences. And I think that we can almost strive to have like a better experience and better education for young women because of how like it just reading that chapter just like really resonated with me.
Love your whatnot, your money slut, your secret little honeypot. Love your Mary Lou, your Vagina, your little man in a canoe, your naughty bits, your peachy lips, that little thing between your hips. Love, love, love your vagina, that important place inside ya. Love, love, love your vagina, love that special place inside. Love your fatty snatch, your pleasure patch, your bouncing baby escape hatch, your little girl, your frilly whirl, your precious hidden oyster pearl, your velvet locket, otter's pocket, your supersonic rocket socket. Love, love, love your vagina, that important place inside ya. Love, love, love your vagina, love that special place inside. Coochie majesty, cherry blossom canopy, woolen chuff, ginger tuft, little kitten mitten muff, lickety split, whiskered biscuit. Downtown dining and entertainment district. Love, love, love your vagina, that important place inside ya. Love, love, love your vagina,
love that special.
Your tutu, my foo-foo, my new-new, my mincy-moo, Lulu, my pingu, my bella-bella, woo-woo. Tutu, my foo-foo, my new-new, my mincy-moo, Lulu, my pingu, my bella-bella, woo-woo. Love, special